Council meeting for the City of Hudson on Monday, January 10th. If you could please all join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Madam Clerk, if you could call the roll.
Mayor Burchell?
Here.
District 1 Morset?
Here.
District 2 Yaku?
Here.
District 3 Bernard?
Here.
District 4 Wyland?
Here.
District 5 O'Malley?
Here.
District 6 Spanslow?
Here. First item on the agenda, is there any comments or suggestions from citizens present? Now is your time to speak. Evie, if you could come up and state your name and address, please.
I'm Evie Nurbin, president of Hudson Hot Air Fair, Inc., 409 Brookwood Drive, Hudson. And I'm here just to invite members of the City Council and our listening audience to come to Hot Air Fair February 4th, 5th, and 6th. This is the 22nd annual Hot Air Fair. Our theme this year is When Pigskins Fly. So between pigs and football players, we've had lots of interesting planning meetings recently. We're going to bring the flying football hot air balloon to town. We have 3 NFL players from the Hudson area that we're going to be recognizing. Johnny Blood McNally from New Richmond back in the 30s. Jim Bertelson from the 70s, and Craig Urbeck, who is a current NFL player here from Hudson. In fact, he's here in town right now and is going to be doing some of our pre-events in the next couple weeks. We'll have a football theme in our parade and activities up at the launch field. We're doing partnering again this year with the St. Paul Winter Carnival. Klondike Kates are going to be coming to our fundraiser on Saturday. We've been doing a lot of promotion with stories and articles in Wisconsin Trails, the Wisconsin Tourism Organization's top 100 events for the winter. Hot Air Fair is featured. And we're moving into the technical world this year with more aggressive positioning. I think we have 1,055 Facebook friends that we've accumulated in the last year, so starting to move into technology for communication for our event. And something that's very special for us this year, our grand marshals are going to be who we have affectionately called for the last pushing 20 years, the Milwaukee Women, a group of half a dozen women, girls' night out, long before it was popular, multi-generational group that's been coming to Hudson for almost 20 years to be part of our silly festival. And so we're recognizing them this year as our grand marshals. So some fun kinds of things. I will send some little flyers around. Please come and join us and enjoy the weekend in Hudson.
Evie, can you give us the dates one more time?
The official event is February 4th, 5th, and 6th, and our pre-events start this Saturday with a fundraiser at the Village Inn in North Hudson, and the kickoff is Friday night, the following Friday night at Dick's Bar and Grill, one of our 22-year sponsors as the kickoff host. So please come and join us for this year's Hot Air Fair.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else that would like to address the council on items that are not on the agenda tonight? If hearing none, we can move on to our consent agenda. Madam Clerk.
To approve the regular meeting minutes of December 20th, 2010. To approve claims for payment in the amount of $674,544.78. A detailed description is available in the clerk's office on request and available on the city's website. To approve the issuance of 8 regular operators licenses for the period January 11th, 2011 to June 30th, 2012. Additional information is available on request from the clerk's office. To approve the renewal and issuance of a secondhand jewelry dealer and secondhand article dealer's license to LaCroix Consignment at 1801 Ward Avenue, number 256. To approve the allocation of room tax funds in the 2011 grant program of $2,000 to the Hot Air Fair and $1,000 to the Phipps Center for the Arts. To approve the renewal and issuance of a second-hand jewelry dealer's license to Richard W. Inlow, doing business as Inlow Designs at 523 2nd Street, Hudson. To approve the Public Works 2011 contract or service service charge rates as recommended by the Public Works Committee. To approve the 2011 park user fees as recommended by the Park Board. To place on file the quarterly reports of the wastewater director, St. Croix EMS chief, the police chief, and the December 29th, 2010 Joint Fire Board meeting minutes. And that is all.
I'd like to request that we pull the room tax dollar.
Okay. Item
Move
5.
for
One other thing, did we talk about the standing committee, I'm sorry, the planning commission, did you read those? Did anyone catch that? For consent agenda, certified survey map residential?
No, I missed that.
Okay, would you add that too, please?
Sure. To approve the certified survey map for 2 residential lots, Town of Troy extraterritorial subdivision area east of Highway 35 and south of Cooley Trail. Dave Brummel, 633 Cooley Trail. To approve the certified survey map for 1 outlot north of Wisconsin Street and west of Knollwood Drive, Willow River Cemetery Association. And to approve the final plat for the Red Cedar Canyon Hanley South 1 family residential lot and 1 outlot north of Hanley Road at the Hanley Road and East Canyon Drive, Hans Hagen Homes.
I'll move for approval.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any other discussion, or any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Roll call.
Roll call vote, excuse me.
Morissette,
Yes.
O'Malley,
Yes.
Wyland,
Yes.
Vanslo,
Yes.
Bernard,
Yes.
Yakub.
Yes.
So item 5 was pulled from the Finance Committee, recommendation of Room Tax Dollar Committee for Allocation 2011 grant programs. Laura, you pulled it?
I pulled it because it was requested by John Potter that we do so. The recommendation came from full council, or full finance committee. It was unanimous that we approve the recommendation from the committee of $2,000 for the Hot Air Fair and $1,000 for the FIP Center for the Arts. There was also a request that in the future we receive more information from the committee as far as what their rationale was for their decision. But there was unanimous support for the recommendation that came down from them.
Okay, well, is there a motion?
Well, I mean, I'm opening it up, I guess, for further discussion. If there are concerns that anyone on the full council has about that recommendation.
I'd like to know what the rationale was. Being new, I guess I don't understand the process, first of all, but I don't understand what the reasoning was for the allocation of the funds.
I think in your packet of information, I think that's the closest we'll get, because I don't
Yeah.
believe there's anyone here from the committee.
Okay.
And, you know, some of us surmised what some of their rationale may have been, but I don't want to speak for them. We brought out a couple possible ideas. One is that the Hot Air Fair it's in its 22nd year, and it has a total budget of about $30,000. A small grant like this can probably really make or break an event like that. Whereas we learned that the FIPS has a marketing budget of $40,000 and a much larger operating budget of over $1 million. They're a large organization. No one was discrediting them in any way for the great things that they do for the city.
Mm-hmm.
We're just, you know, like I said, trying to surmise. The other thing is the Hot Air Fair is a free event open to the public, draws a lot of people from the cities, and, you know, I think maybe in light of what their event is this year, maybe there was some draw, you know, and the committee felt like that was kind of an interesting twist, bringing in the NFL players. I don't know, but.
To address your question on the process, in November, December, when we're discussing budget, the council makes an allocation of the estimated room tax revenue. X amount goes to the chamber, X amount goes to kind of city-sponsored tourism things, and then the remainder, and that it varies from year to year. As Lori indicated in finance, the amount for the grant can be anywhere between 0 and 10% of the total. So the $3,000 came out of a council recommendation, and then it goes to that committee who then looks at the applications and decides the allocation.
And part of the point of having a committee, if I might just expand on that a little bit, was to get it out of this committee and to let them review those grant applications objectively, kind of get it out of the political realm, and then come back here for approval.
Okay, thanks. That helps.
Okay. Is there a recommendation or a motion to approve?
I'll move to approve the committee's recommendation of $2,000 to Hot Air Fair and $1,000 to the Phipps Center for the Arts.
Is there a second? Okay. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Number 7 on our agenda, a purchase of $132,000 snow plow, snow blower. Mr. O'Malley?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The request is for $137,000 totally. This is a reduced price because we'll be going along with the state of Minnesota purchasing agreement. We're allowed to do that. The snow blower that we have currently in service is 32 years old. We have difficulty getting parts, which is, in fact, it's almost impossible. It breaks down constantly, and it's running on baling wire and spit right now. It's been a very hard winter for it so far, and it's not going to survive much longer. It's lasted 32 years, and I don't know anyone who has a snow blower that is still running after 32 years. The replacement one is almost 4 tons. It has a 240 horsepower Cummins diesel, and will last us at least another 30 years, I believe. Tom Zulli is here, our Director of Public Works. Tom, do you want to add any comments?
Are you sure what you said price-wise was right?
132, isn't it?
2, right?
Excuse me, 132, correct.
Yep, 132, 757.
Just to add what Mr. O'Malley's comments were, the reason that we went with this snow blower that it is built in Wisconsin. Other communities that have snow blowers in this area include River Falls, Ellsworth, Eau Claire has 3, Stillwater, Washington County has 2, MnDOT has 12 that we know of, and 2 of them are in the Oakdale shop. Woodbury, I believe, has some, Rice Lake also. So that's one of the main reasons that we chose this particular one, that it's heavy duty. It's been tested by many other communities. It's built in Wisconsin. The dealership with the low bid actually is out of Eau Claire if we would need parts or service or whatever. So those are some of the factors we decided to go with this particular snow blower.
I would like to add for the council's information that we're asking the council to approve something on the basis that we have done before. I think that was for a tandem axle truck. The 2011 capital outlay has not been approved yet, and this would come out of that budget. So we're asking for pre-approval because it will take us 60 days to get this machine. We've investigated renting to get us through the winter. There are none available. There are none available to buy. They're going to have to build us one, and that's why it'll be here just in time for the end of March blizzards. Either that or springtime. If it's like last year, we don't know. But it's one of those machines that when you need it, you really, really need it. We've been using the front end loader to clear out the streets from downtown. It's effective, but it's very labor intensive, it's very time consuming, and it's a very expensive way to remove snow. This is the way to do it. So we ask that you do approve this expenditure, and I will make that a motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
Just for everyone's information, the Finance Committee unanimously approved this.
And in reference to what Scott was discussing about including in the capital projects, back in 2000, the council did approve a resolution that allows them to, as long as they commit to including it in the bonding, that they can make that. And as finance officer, I just have to fill out a form saying that's what the council intends to do.
The other thing, if you remember what our budget is, we had $140,000 in that particular, so it's within our budget or below our budget. Any other comments or thoughts?
Finance, we did discuss what will happen with the current blower and the core value of it. We had asked that Public Works look at possibility using it as a backup if it works tomorrow. It was an interesting concept to look at the option of, if we now have put the money into to repair it, to run for a period of time, that we use it.
Sure.
Because the core value is fairly small.
Yeah, we will continue to use it for 60 more days.
Yeah.
We have no choice.
Any other thoughts? Any other comments? Questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
The next item, don't go too far away. Next item is consider charging fees for requests for barricades, cones, snowplow exemptions. Snow cone exemptions. Snowplow exemptions. Forget about that one.
Forget the snow cones.
Yeah.
You got snow cones?
Got snow cones. We're selling snow cones, purple. Mr. O'Malley, any comments on this?
This was
recommendation.
something that was, it was unanimously voted to bring to the council for full discussion by the full council. It is a concept that, unfortunately, whose time has come, I believe. The city has in the past been able to accommodate neighborhood parties, even larger events, by not charging for delivery and removal of barricades and orange cones for traffic control. Well, there's a pretty heavy-duty consumption of time and gasoline and equipment involved in that. And we have a schedule before you of fairly minimal fees. If you were to have a block party and you needed up to 6 barricades to barricade off your street, it's only $25. That pays, we hope, for the person's time to put them on the truck, deliver them, and then pick them up, put them back on the truck, and take them back to our garage afterwards. The snowplow exemptions are something that Tom discussed with us, and it's basically the same concept, that if somebody asks for an exemption, a waiver from our new snow plowing ordinance during snow emergencies, that it takes time, which is money, for Tom to go out, investigate the situation, issue a report, and we are now working on an appeals process. So that's the thinking behind this, and we bring it to you for discussion. In order to discuss it, I will move that we approve these schedules of rates.
I'll second it, and
All right.
just make the clarification that in finance, we approved a motion that the snowplow exemption fee, we would discuss that within Public Works as part of the overall clarifying the appeal process and whether or not there'd be a fee. So we can kind of remove that from the.
Is that okay with you?
That's fine. I'll remove that part from
Yep.
my motion.
We talked about doing this 2 separate parts.
Yep. So any discussion?
I'm not interested in charging any residents any fees. I can see it used for bigger events, and I would support that. I'm not gonna support charging any more fees to our residents for this. We wanna encourage block parties. We wanna encourage neighborhoods to get together. They pay their taxes, and I think it's a minimal cost for us, for them to drop off those barricades and cones. I think it's a ridiculous fee.
Well, we had a discussion at finance, and the nice thing about block parties is that you want to get your neighbors together. We want to encourage people to have block parties, to get your neighbors together. I think that it's a question of what are the basic services that we provide to everybody, and anybody can have a block party, anybody can ask for this service, and what are services that we charge for. It's very easy to slice and dice all our services and start charging for all of them. Tom's separated out the difference between like a Booster Days event where you need 80 or 90 barricades and it takes a lot of people and a lot of work, versus a block party where it takes a couple of barricades. I would like to see this go back to Public Works and be re-reviewed and ask the question, what's the real purpose here? I think that as a community, we do community-friendly things. One of is you drop off a barricade, we have a block party, people get together. I don't see the need to go to that level of service fees, because I do believe that there are a lot of things that would fall into that category of what are the basic things that we provide our constituents.
Need clarification. Are you now saying that, is your point that if it's a small enough block party, then, if it's like 6 or less barricades, that we should not charge?
That's where the conversation was going, yes.
Okay, and above that, the charges
If you got a big event, you got a lot of commitment by the city to help lay it out and help bring it back in. As was pointed out in finance, when you've got a big event, you also are gonna hire a police officer. It's part of the package.
I agree with Lee and Randy, and I think for block parties too, Tom pointed out in finance that they don't set up the barricades for block parties, they drop them off, and I understand it takes time, and Tom knows I'm a big defender of how the Public Works time is used, how your time is used, and And but I do think this is a service where, if planned out properly, they could probably grab the barricades in the morning if they need to and drop them off, and as they're going on to a job or something, and maybe not, but I still think that it's a service that we give to residents, and maybe the magic number is 6 or more for a charge. But both basic blocks, I think block parties probably take 4 barricades at most, depending on how wide the street is. The city is going to allow residents to block them off with their cars, then maybe it would solve the problem, but that's not legal, so
Yeah.
we need an option to keep it safe for children and families to enjoy,
Mr. Mayor.
such a function.
Lori?
One other thing we might consider is that for these smaller events, that we don't deliver them. And that if residents want to, maybe they can come put a deposit down, pick the barricades up themselves, and take care of the transportation. No one wants to say that, we're going to charge you to have a block party. Bottom line is, it's not necessary to block streets off for neighbors to get together. Second point is, that operation or bringing those barricades in is serving just that neighborhood. It's special service that those neighbors are asking for. We are getting to the point in our budget, and I think everyone's realizing it in their various committees, that we're kind of going to be getting down to basic services. And some of these other things, I think we're going to have to look at more closely and decide, is it a necessity or is it something people want to do? So maybe for the smaller number, we let residents come pick them up, and we don't charge. There's a deposit, and then it's refunded when they return them. It's just a thought.
As I pointed out in finance, I think that we've got to be careful at some point become so fiscally conservative that we're no longer also supportive and friendly. I think that there's a line there we've got to be careful we're not crossing.
What would we do if the number of block parties got up to 50 block parties in a year?
So wouldn't that be wonderful?
It became
Coordinate
so
them all together and have
labor
a good time.
intensive. Pardon? No, what I'm trying to say is there a point in time where, if you have 2 or 3, it's not really a cost issue. If you have 20 or 30, it becomes a cost issue. And how do you sort that out? I would be in favor of taking a policy that says we always charge for them. It can be a minimal fee for the smaller 4 horses or 6 horses. It can be a minimal fee, but the policy for the city is we charge for horses if we deliver them. Therefore, it's consistent for everybody, and there's no question about what the policy is. I'm afraid that we'll get into a position sometime where we start debating, well, this block party wants 6, and it's okay for that block party, but this block party only wanted 10, and then where do you cut it off? I mean, I would prefer a consistent policy that says the city of Hudson charges for its delivery of barricades, and we can set the fees at a minimal for the lower number of horses, or whatever we have.
I think that you...
I think, Mary?
I just wanted to comment back on something Lori mentioned, was to go pick up the barricades, although it's not a concept I would completely disagree with. I would be concerned those barricades are heavy. I've lifted one and they're heavy, and if we have someone get injured down there or something, we could be facing problems with that. I don't know if that's something that we'd want to. That could be a liability nightmare. I don't know if it's on city, in a city garage, and you're going down. Granted, they're going to load it up. There'd have to be someone there to probably load it up to check it up, but that same person's not going to be there to take it down. And I don't know. Maybe I'm off base on that, but I'm just shooting in the dark with a thought. So
Okay.
I would be concerned about the transportation of city property and damage in transportation. But I would love to have the problem where we have 50 block parties and that many neighbors are getting together on a regular basis. And I think at that time, you start looking at, this is a significant investment, and is there something we need to change? But I don't feel the impetus right now to make this kind of a change. But I do see the issue with Tom when he says, I'm moving 80 barricades for these big events. Well, I think those need to be discussed.
Well, I would like to have that discussion right now rather than refer it back to Public Works by amending or revising slightly my motion to take out any mention of the $25 fee for 1 to 6 barricades, leaving the other schedule of charges stand, so that we are encouraging block parties, and we are making a clear delineation between block parties and large events.
Who had seconded that motion? Is it okay with the seconder?
I'll let someone else second it.
I'll second it, if I may.
Okay, our first motion is still on the table then, unless you were amending.
I was.
Okay, so then we have to go to the.
I know, that's
to the,
why-
second, and she's not going to amend it, apparently.
So then it fails.
It fails.
So then I will make a motion based on
Sorry, Scott.
his, Scott's amendment, that 1 to 6 barricades is removed and 6 to 12 continues, that schedule continues as
Should be
written.
7 to 12, shouldn't it?
1 to 6 barricades.
Six.
Yeah.
It's actually,
charge.
yeah, 1 to 6 and 6, yeah, 7 to 12.
Yeah, just.
Correct.
Or do you want to leave it 6 to 12? It says 6 to 12 on there.
No, it says 1 to 6
1 to
is
6.
1 to 6 is
$25.
gone.
Yeah, it's 25.
It's
so
gone.
it should be anything.
Oh,
over
it's
6,
7.
7 to
Oh.
12.
You're not gonna have an odd
Yeah.
number of barricades.
Right.
All right, I will, oh, I see.
Well, then you want to switch the rest
But
to
if
the
somebody
13 plus.
gets
and-
6 barricades, that's why it should say 7 to
Yeah.
12. Yes. 7 to 12 will
I
be
will second your
$50.
motion.
Oh, excellent, thank you.
Okay. Any discussion on this particular motion?
So who decides how many barricades are needed?
Whatever
Tom,
they request.
Public Works. Because they have to, they will know how the street has to be blocked to be safe.
It's minimum 2 per thoroughfare. So if you have 1 block, you need 4.
Yep.
Should, instead of it being 12 plus barricades, then should it be 13 plus if
What's
is it
not
7 to
saying
12?
here?
Well, I mean, I want to get the numbers right.
Yeah, that's
Okay.
true. 13, yep.
So
That
13
puts it up to
25 and then
$75.
26 on up.
Yeah.
Correct, is that what
Yeah.
you're saying?
I'm just trying to
Yeah,
correct the
correct.
language.
Yep.
And then 26 plus.
Not supposed to be
No.
this hard.
No, it's not.
Anything
Oh,
over,
that's for cones.
That's
less-
for
Yeah,
cones.
but same principle.
Yeah.
I agree with you.
I believe that reads anything less than 25 is,
Well,
and anything over 25 or over is 50.
Right.
the fact that we're having this discussion, we should just make it clear, I
Okay.
think. Small item.
So at the current time, we have 7 to 12 for $50. 13 and up is $75
Yes.
for barricades.
Yep.
Cones would
Cones
be-
are $25, 0 to 25, and over 25 is 50.
When do you use cones? I'm just curious, for a block party, you won't use cones.
Not generally. Most of the cones are for the special events.
Reese's.
Oh, yeah,
things like
yeah.
that.
Yeah, that's true.
Is there any other discussion on our barricades? Okay, we have a motion and a second.
So it's, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
It's strictly based on
Number.
how many are needed. So
That's correct.
really, we're not differentiating between block parties and anything else. It's strictly on number.
Correct.
Okay.
That's the motion, that it stands correct.
That's correct.
So if there's a block party that needs 7, they're gonna pay $50.
So if there's some other event that is not a block party but needs 6, we're not gonna charge them.
That's correct. That's the motion. Any other discussion?
Terribly inconsistent.
Yeah,
Yep.
I agree.
Yeah.
All in favor of this particular motion?
Hi.
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
No.
3 to 3? Oh, lordy.
It's a big one.
One more time, let's
Show of hands.
show of hands. I didn't, let's see, who's in favor of the motion? So we have 3 opposed to the motion? I'll vote no. Motion fails. Okay. Is there any other motions or,
I'm going to make a motion to send it back to Public Works for more discussion.
Second.
Okay.
They know the issues now.
I'm not going to split hairs all night on it.
well, we're spending a lot of time on $25 and we didn't spend a lot of time on $132,000. Any other discussion on that? Send it back to Public Works. I know Public Works gave us a recommendation and we didn't agree with it, so now we're gonna send it back to them again.
That's fine.
We're sending it back with conversation so they know what the issues are.
Okay, any other discussion on that? All in favor of sending it back to Public Works signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
Okay, 4 to 2, I believe it passed.
Yes.
Okay, motion passes. Okay, good. All right. Public Works Committee, review submittals and discussion recommendation for the process for selection of city engineering services. Mr. O'Malley.
The Public Works Committee has studied very thoroughly the proposals from 8 semifinalists and winnow that down to 4 finalists, 4 engineering firms who are applying to become our consulting engineers. Just a note, our consulting engineer does not mean that they necessarily perform all work for the city. But the person who was here to give us project updates, which has been Chuck Schwartz for quite some time, that's our consulting engineer. Specific project, we may hire another engineering firm with a particular expertise in the area of that project. We have 4 finalists, and we are going to determine the final one to recommend to the full council. The Public Works Committee will do that along with the advice and consent of Tom Zulli, Head of Public Works, and Denny Darnold, our comprehensive, our City Development Coordinator. The question for the full council is, would you like to be part of that process? It'll be about a 2.5-hour process, pretty much guaranteed to be at least 2.5 hours. And we can do it certainly at Public Works. If you'd like to form a committee of the whole and have all members of the council involved in it, we do have additional proposals for you to study. Before we do this, we'd like to do this sometime in the next week or 10 days. And if we do it as a committee of the whole with a full council, I would suggest that we have the direction of the mayor on that rather than the Public Works Committee chairman, which is me.
What's your pleasure, council?
I wouldn't mind being involved. I'd like to.
Okay. Mary?
Yes, I'd like to be involved.
I think it should be the full council.
Lee?
Why not?
Well, I think,
We got the 4 votes there already.
yeah, I know, but any,
Sure, no, I think that everybody should have an input on this,
Yep.
because this is the consulting firm you're going to have to live with for at least a year.
Yep.
So you're going to want to like the people. I'm going to ask those who are the 4 finalists to have no more than 2 people at their presentations. Each of their presentations, discussion periods, I guess we should really call them, because it'll be a back and forth question and answer period. Each of them will be half an hour in length. So that's 2 hours right there between the 4 of them.
okay.
Do each of these proposals have an executive summary? Because I've understood that they're fairly thick.
They are fairly thick, and though they really don't have an executive summary, you're going to have to read the whole thing front to back, just as we did.
That's fine. I'm just wondering if, because for the information of everybody, so not everybody, I'm thinking the executive summaries could then be available to those people in the audience.
We
At that
have
night.
extra copies available here at City Hall. They certainly could come in and look at them here.
Sure.
Check them out if they want.
We got 15 total from each firm,
Okay.
and we're going to use not quite that 15 for our sessions.
Do we want to try and set a date right now?
Yeah, I'd like to do that.
Can I just request that one of the 2 individuals that comes is obviously the principal
Has to be the
engineer?
contact
who would-
person.
Exactly.
Whoever is going to be designated as the
Right.
contact person for that firm, I mean, it would be frankly
I assume they
ridiculous
would.
of them not to have
Right.
that person
Just
there.
wanted to make it clear.
But we need to clarify that we definitely want that person there.
Okay, if we can pick a date, I think, and then we should probably have a agenda or questions that, how we want to go about it, our process, I guess, more than,
Danny and I talked about that,
Okay.
Alan, and I believe that if we start off, since each of the proposals are really quite different, there aren't really uniform questions other than the basic one, why do you think that you should be our consulting engineer? And the things they say and what's already printed in their proposals will be the springboard for half hour's worth of question and
Okay.
answers and give and take.
okay. Let me throw out a date. How about next Monday?
Can we make it next Tuesday?
I'd prefer Wednesday. Hey, I have 2 things in my whole agenda for the next 2 weeks, and it's Monday and Tuesday next week.
I'll give you Boardwalk and Park Place.
I know.
If
I
you-
never, ever say that I can't make something. I'm just saying.
Thursday, we don't have plan commission.
No. Next Thursday?
I can do that, too. See?
This is
Yeah,
20
yeah.
The 20th is next Thursday.
We need to check with the people who we're interviewing as well.
Sure. But I think we ought to get
You mean
ours first.
13th or the 20th? Yeah. And
20th
13th
is?
public safety.
No, we have public
13th
safety
is
this
public
week.
safety.
Yeah, so I just said.
Oh, that's the
13th is
20th.
public
Yep.
safety, and the 20th is plan commission. We don't have anything on next Monday or Tuesday, the 17th or 18th.
Mary's
Not
not
available.
available.
Sorry.
Unless we want to try and do it early in the morning, but that really puts a crank on.
This is a 2.5, 3 hour
Yep.
meeting.
Okay, which, we don't wanna try, how about the 25th? Now we're getting further
We
out.
wanted to do this in the next 10 days, that's outside that
Well,
window.
you could do it at the Public Works meeting, starting at 4:30 on the 25th, on Tuesday. That's our regularly scheduled monthly meeting.
I can
Counsel?
do that.
Council? I think that sounds like a good one.
Okay.
And if you need to have a separate meeting for whatever you've got, you can always do that as well.
Sure.
Okay, so we're talking about Thursday, or
Tuesday, the
Tuesday,
25th.
the 25th of January.
Right. Bring a box dinner.
And you do have council the night before, just so everybody
Yep.
remembers.
Okay,
What time was that again?
4:30.
4:30.
So it'll be the committee of the whole.
that's correct. I don't know, do we need to vote on that? I think we've all agreed. Okay, anything else?
Well, just a quick question, Mr.
Yes.
Mayor, would you, since we'll all be here, would you preside then instead
Yes.
of me?
Okay, I'll be
Thank you.
happy to do that.
And I will have copies available tomorrow morning for the council members that don't have them.
Thank
And
you.
I'll front counter for you. Anybody from the public.
Okay. Anything else on that? Public Works?
No.
Public Safety Committee, we have Park Board sailing mooring policy and 2011 sailboat mooring rates. Mr. Morissette.
Yeah, the committee recommended that we approve the proposed 2011 boat mooring policy, chapter 181-14 of our code. We recommend not increasing the mooring fee. So I don't know, probably take them as two separate motions.
Okay.
So I'll move to approve the 2011 boat mooring policy.
Second.
Any discussion?
The only question I had is, the fee was based on budgeted expense of 15,000 something, which would mean it was the same cost as it was in 2009 for the city then? Because the fee hasn't changed, so the expenses haven't changed, is that correct?
That'll be the same as 2010 as well.
2010.
Yeah.
Okay, so the budget for that is the same in 2011 as it was in 2010.
Yeah.
Okay.
It would have been, I don't know where a 3% increase came from someplace, and it didn't make sense for an $8.
3% was based on,
Insurance.
well, insurances, salaries, benefits, those types of things. That's where we kind of
The
are at.
board recommended though, because they wanted, well, that's the second
That's the
one.
second one,
Let's-
the fees for the mooring.
Yeah.
But the other ones are just Park Board fees, correct?
Right, we did that already.
We haven't approved.
We're talking about the mooring policy.
But
One question.
this 181-14 is already part of the code. Is there any change
No.
to it? So I don't think it needs to be approved
Okay.
again. It's an existing part of the code and you don't have to publish and so forth.
And then I would move that we do not raise the 2011 mooring season, or mooring fees, and leave it at $560.
What was the rationale, Randy, about not raising the fees?
Well, the rationale is that over the last course of 4.5 to 5 years, that they've been promised a stair or some type of improvement for their mooring fees, and they have seen none. And we basically haven't done really anything with their mooring fees, which has a total balance of almost $44,000 in their account.
But I don't think that's just for mooring fees, that particular account.
Well, it was broke down into the regular, the insurance, administrative.
No, but I mean, those dollars collected isn't just for it's for the use of the park. We've done a lot of stuff on the park there.
Right.
So
I don't know if that's correct, though.
I think it is, but
One of the motions to raise it a number of years ago was to start collecting money to put in stairs.
And we have those funds, and they'll be coming to the council at a later date.
Yep.
So your argument then is essentially that the fee increase of a few years ago was to actually set up a sinking fund.
Right.
So that we would have the money in the future.
Sure.
By the way, a great way to run a city for every department is to have a sinking fund so you have the money when you need it instead of borrowing. But I take your point. I think that given that, it's acceptable.
okay.
Randy, it's just looking at, it looks like this is different from what's in the code.
now? We're not
Well, you've got part of the code in here and part is policy. So I'm not sure what you want to do. It looks like there's some additional language in this.
I don't think we're,
Not in the code.
I think this was just for informational purposes that was given.
The
correct?
issue sheet's probably wrong then with that in mind.
Okay, if it's the existing policy, I mean, the code stands and you have a policy that
Correct.
you've been using.
Nothing was changed.
Okay, so the policy can still stand.
Right, correct.
2011.
But I think what we're talking about is whether we raise the fees.
Right.
Yeah.
Did you
Okay.
already make a motion
I
about
did,
leaving them? Then I'll
I
second
did make
that.
a motion.
And you second it?
Yes.
Okay. Any other discussion?
So the motion is just about fees and is to keep
Correct.
them the same.
Correct.
Yep.
And so the 3% increase in cost, we're just gonna,
Well, as Randy just explained, that several years ago, a sinking fund was essentially established to take care of this. So we don't need to raise them again now.
Well, I guess the only question I would have is, do we know the cost of, and how many stairs we want to put in, and how much money do we have? Stairs are, we just put 2 in over here.
We do. The estimated cost is about $6,000, right, Tom? And we're only putting in 1 at this time.
Okay,
And the balance of that fee is $44,000.
okay.
We were, and I apologize for not getting the stairs in last year, but several things came up. One of the concerns was that if we put the stairs in, that we have the proper distance from the dike road to the water level, and we want to keep the stairs back a little bit. Well, then it changes the angle of the steps, and it has to be a certain, for every 7-inch, it's, I'm not an engineer, but for every 7-inch, it has to be a foot rise. So we need a certain distance to have that. So that's part of the issues we had last summer, is trying to see if we had the proper distance and the proper angle for the steps. The other question was, and the concern was, if we do put the steps there, is the city going to be liable for any accidents or whatever on them? I mean, are we asking the people to use the steps other than the mooring people, or would there be a safety issue or
I think you
concern
need to
that?
sign it properly. Was it just for the mooring people?
I guess anyone who wanted to use them certainly could use them, or would you just have signs that say for
Caution.
mooring, sailboat use only?
I don't know what your intent is.
Well,
I
our
assume-
motion now is whether or not we approve
Yeah.
a rate increase, not whether or not we put the steps, and I think that's another discussion.
Another whole topic.
I assume we have liability when your mooring people go stumbling down the rocks, too.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
the
If the
current
riprap doesn't
practice,
kill you, that stairways are not going to.
So I think there is $46,000 or $47,000 in the mooring fee, and the steps, we had some estimates at around $5,000, $6,000 for the steps, and then we do need some kind of landing, so, I'm not quite sure what that would be, a few $1,000s, I'm sure.
Okay,
So
So the-
we're looking at $6,000 to $8,000 per step, but we wanted to try one first, as soon as the water recedes in the spring, and see what it looks like, and then kind of make some decisions after we try one trial one first.
okay.
And the point is, for the fee, we do not need to raise the fee to collect money for this particular
That's
investment.
correct.
Well, you're gonna try one, but what's the end goal? How many? 3? Did I miss
3 to
that
4 was
somewhere?
brought up. It hasn't really been determined.
If we could get back on our topic about approving a fee for this, and we'll talk about the,
You know, I call the question,
The fee's
Mr.
not
Mayor.
gonna
I've made a
change.
motion, I'd like a response.
good. All in favor?
You'll be-
question.
Okay, all in favor of keeping the fees the same, signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
Question does need a vote, doesn't it?
Item 7, unfinished business, designate a city representative to the Gateway Corridor Commission Policy Advisory Committee. It's the transit I-94 corridor from the Twin Cities to Eau Claire. Consider joining as a member of the Wisconsin Gateway Corridor Coalition. Danny?
There's 2 separate issues in regards to this agenda item. First is designating a city representative to be the Gateway Corridor Commission Policy Advisory Committee representative. The last council member, I asked if any council members would desire to fulfill that position. I did visit with Lori. She discussed the possibility, but I did receive a letter, which I believe is in your packets, from Mr. Leif Halverson. Leif has a strong transit background, works for Twin Cities Signals. He has volunteered to serve as that Policy Advisory Committee. Again, it's about an 18-month process, which we're about 1 month into the process. Meetings on the Policy Advisory Committee would be about every other month. I will serve as a technical advisor on the Technical Advisory Committee and serve as the backup for the Policy Advisory Committee. Mr. Halverson's here tonight. Generally, the policy considerations are for the entire stretch of planning area from Minneapolis to Eau Claire, not exclusively the city of Hudson. So discussions at the policy level will be on the whole corridor. However, periodically, if Mr. Halverson would be considered for being a representative, he and I would periodically bring back items or issues that would be discussed so we can make sure we are representing the city's interest as per our parochial view for this particular interest.
I would just like to add that
Absolutely.
Mike Lemberg, who was also a candidate for the 6th District alderperson, has expressed an interest in that position also. He talked to me and said that if I had the chance to recommend him, or at least bring his name up, he would like to be considered. Just so I bring that up, he just called me. So
Okay.
I'm bringing his name up. He's thrown his name in there.
Okay, well, to actually start the discussion, I would like to move that Mr. Halverson be designated as the city representative to the Gateway Corridor Commission Policy Advisory Committee, and then we can discuss other candidates at that time. But he is here tonight. I saw him a moment ago. He wrote a letter explaining his background, and I move that we designate him to be the representative.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Okay. Discussion.
Would Mr. Halverson like to say anything?
Thank you, council members. I just would like to say that I've been seeking avenues to become more involved and active in the community's development. And when this was presented, I just learned about it a couple weeks back when it was presented as part of the agenda. And just my history there, I was surprised none of you jumped at the opportunity but it's exciting to me. I look forward to getting more information on it. All I was able to review was the 12-page document that was part of the posting there. But that's, unless you've got other questions for me, to be part of the Policy Advisory Committee, that would, I find that exciting.
Okay. Any questions for Mr. Halverson?
No, my only concern, and I mentioned it to Danny already, is, this is a position that my understanding is brings information back to the council and is not an advocate, not advocating any policy on behalf of the city. That's my only concern, that whoever it is, it's, and Denny clarified that it's really
that'll be one of my primary responsibilities, to work with Leaf, make sure we're keeping the city informed. Again, we want to bring ideas from a perspective of the city, but we're not necessarily advocating only a city perspective. We're working with establishing a system for the whole entire corridor. So Leaf and I will be, if Leaf is appointed, Leaf and I would be working very closely to make sure the city's kept informed.
So I'm hearing you're saying there's no conflict of interest. Is that what you're kind of getting at?
Well, I was just, to have a non-elected official, I just wanted to make sure they were not representing the city's position or, in a way that was not.
Seems like a natural fit.
But with somebody with this much rail experience, can certainly bring new ideas and bring, because we are the head of 94 for the corridor, so.
Right. And my only concern was that Danny initially asked if someone from the council would be willing to serve, and my impression was because you felt like you needed someone from the council.
Well, it is a policy consideration. I thought it would be courteous to give the common council first opportunity.
Should be the new guy.
The new guy with no experience in transportation?
Yeah. All right. Any other thoughts? Any other questions?
Thanks.
All right. All in favor of Mr. Halverson being appointed? Signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
I just want to sincere thanks for Lee for volunteering, and also apologize I misspelled his first name in the issue sheet. Unless you was speed reading and got over top of that. But my apology to Leaf.
Okay. Thank you.
I don't have a side, I'm splitting.
Unfinished business, the business that keeps coming back and keeps coming back and keeps coming back.
Keeps giving.
It's the 2011 fire protection contracts with the town of Hudson, the village of North Hudson, and the town of Troy. We've had the village of Hudson, North Hudson, approve the contract at their last meeting. The last information that I had, and Lee, if you need to update, please update, or Chief Fry. The town of Hudson, I believe, is going to consider the proposal this week.
Correct.
And the last one, I do not have any information on the town of Troy.
And I think Jim might have the,
Chief?
the chief might have more updated information.
Troy meets this week too, as well, Thursday, I believe.
Okay. So Kathy, do you want to say anything?
Well, you've got my memo, and it, I think, explains the contract, and that was a product coming out of the Joint Advisory Fire Board. And they had, you know, it was good discussion, and they were very uncomfortable with the 10 years, but were willing to do the 5-year rolling agreement, coupled with a 10-year obligation to pay for capital costs that are incurred before they've, you know, that they've approved before they give any notice of non-renewal. Is everyone, I guess, is everyone understanding the contract?
Which was our main concern.
Yeah, was getting the, so they could stop their service within 5 years, but they would be obligated to pay off their capital account for capital costs purchased by the city before they gave a notice of non-renewal. And the city likewise, which was a concern from the council, has the authority to terminate services giving similar 5-year written notice. During that 5 years, they pay their pro rata share of any capital costs that are, or equipment, whatever, purchased while they're receiving services, but they're only obligated for the 10-year period for capital costs incurred before the notice of termination.
Is that clear as mud to everybody?
It's complicated, but
It's really pretty clear. You've got a 5 years notice if you want to get out.
Yep.
But if a month before you gave us that notice, you agreed that we should all buy a new fire truck, you're on the hook for your portion of the fire truck.
Thank you.
well, and to make it actually, it doesn't require joint fire board approval.
No.
But if they don't give, their option, if they don't agree with it, is to give the notice of non-renewal.
Yep.
And then the 5-year notice.
So it still rests with us.
Yeah,
Because it's our fire department.
Right, that was important to the city, and they understood that. So it's this 5-year rolling term they can live with because they can see out 5 years. 10 years was a little too long just in terms of service.
So that's the change from the last time we brought it. It was 10, and now it's back to 5.
Correct, and the date for giving notice of non-renewal was changed to September 30th because Chief Fry said he had better numbers by then.
For budgeting.
For budgeting,
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, I will move for approval of this.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Lee?
And if you remember the old agreement, it had the city in here at 3 years and the partners in at 10 years. And that's why we came back to 5 years on both sides. They felt that was a more fair agreement.
And if we don't, I think there's a motion on the floor and a second, but if we don't approve this for everyone, I would think it would be in our best interest that it's either all or none. I don't know what, well, I don't know if it has to be, but.
I would argue the other way that,
Okay.
that we've got a set of, we provide service to different people.
Yeah.
And if we have a contract, it would be nice to have everybody on the same contract. But to move forward and say, we've created a contract here with providing service to this community, they are separate communities with separate service contracts.
I agree with that, but within the context of this agreement, we would have to go back and, because municipalities' shares would change.
Yeah.
I
But
mean,
we already
they
have-
each,
But we already have calculations for the 1 year and the 5 year. If you sign up on 1 year, here's your calculations. You sign up
I don't
on
like
5
that.
years.
no, that
That
won't
won't
work.
Well, it will
Different
work,
math.
If you've
but
got
we
one
may
at
choose not to
50-50
do
and the
it.
other two
Yeah.
are at 75-25, there's gonna be money missing.
And, Yeah, it's, I think what,
Well,
if
if you look
all
at it,
don't
yeah.
approve this, then we have the backup plan that
Right.
But
we
it's
go
either
back
all
to
or
the
nothing.
Right.
original 2011, 1 year, and work towards something.
And then we'd have a year to work on it.
It's like
Correct.
you're
I
asking
think
for a lease
that's-
versus a purchase.
Any other discussion?
That's
Well,
what,
the question before us is whether or not to approve this contract.
Right.
Right.
Yes.
And I move again that we approve
Yep.
this contract.
I'll second that. I think that's fine. And we do, on the other hand, we do have the other thing that says if it's not done by the 15th, we
Correct.
fall back to the other one.
Which have already been approved.
Moving forward, I do believe that we could possibly look at, if we can't solve everybody's problem the same way, we should look at the option to solve them in different ways.
Okay.
Because there are different communities with different needs, and that's why we've gotten to where we are today.
Okay. Any other discussion? All in favor of approving this contract, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. New business. Consider the use of paper ballots for February 15th, 2011 primary election, Resolution 1-11. Devin? Just
Move to suspend the rules.
Second.
okay. Roll call vote, please.
Morissette?
Yes.
O'Malley?
Yes.
Wyland?
Yes.
Anslow?
Yes.
Bernard?
Yes.
Yakub?
Yes.
Devin, do you want to just make a quick comment on it?
Basically, this will allow us not to use the more expensive ballots, the OptiScan machines. We do still have to set up the HAVA handicap accessible machines, but it'll save us the printing costs plus the programming costs, which can be pretty expensive for a relatively small number of races and likely a relatively small number of voters. I don't know that for sure, but usually the spring primaries are pretty light.
Anybody have any questions on this? Okay.
Move to approve Resolution 111.
Second.
Okay. We don't need a roll call vote on that, do we? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. This, the next item under, I was considering a special council meeting, but I wanted to get your input on whether or not you thought it was necessary to have a special, at some point, we need to address our sign ordinance. And I think it may be necessary to have a special meeting so that everybody has a chance to ask Catherine all the questions you want and go through this. Denny, do you want to add anything to this?
Well, Kathy and I have had 2 extended conversations since the council had first reading on the ordinance to adopt a sign ordinance. After the last conversation, no negative reflection on Kathy, but I was rather confused about one issue in regards to content neutrality. And I think it's a fairly complicated discussion in which Kathy really needs to go over the reasons why an ordinance would be proposed the way we have discussed it to date. And I think in my opinion, the only way we can do that is in a special meeting where there's only one item, that's the sign ordinance, discuss it, and then decide which direction we may want to go. Kathy, I think, and I both agree, I think that's the best method to try to bring this to a conclusion. We do have the moratorium through March 31st. We did decide to interview the engineers towards the end of the month, so if you wanted to wait till around mid-February to have that discussion, I'd be fine with that. It'd give Kathy and I some more time to put drafts together and to get it out to you, so you have about a 2-week period to review it before the discussion would be held.
What's your thought, Council?
The regular meetings are the 7th and the 21st.
I guess we can look in January, but I just wanted to get a feel whether or not you thought it was worthwhile to have a special meeting. I don't like to call special meetings, but it's been an issue that we've been working on for almost a year now, and I think we need to resolve it, come to an end, and make a decision. And so I thought it would be advantageous so that we have nothing else on the agenda. We're talking about one item, and we can get clarification, because I think there's some confusion. It's not an easy, in my opinion, it's not an easy issue. But we can't say we're going to, well, I don't want to get into that discussion tonight, but any thoughts?
Well, our meetings are on the 7th and the 21st. We don't dare have a meeting on the 14th of February, that being St. Valentine's Day.
Why?
That's the day before.
How long have we been married, you know? I mean,
Didn't want to get into a massacre, right?
The 14th
I don't think
won't-
my husband will
that-
mind.
The 14th won't work anyway because we have this room set up for the 11th.
What happened to romance?
I'm just kidding.
All right,
How
all
about
right.
the 28th?
Huh? Excuse me, Laurie?
It's not the history of that.
Is that too late, the 28th?
You mean January 28th?
Yeah.
February
Yeah,
28th.
February 20th, but what about the last Monday in
January 31st.
January 31st?
Yeah, we don't have anything, that calendar's clear that date.
January 31st?
Yeah,
So we're in agreement that a special meeting is in order.
That's
I would
my-
agree.
yeah.
Anybody does not think we should have a special meeting?
Let's
Okay.
find out. I'll move that we have a special meeting at 7 PM on January
31st.
31st.
Is there a second?
Here.
Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, thank you.
What time? You didn't say.
7
Before we
PM,
go
he said.
into,
Oh.
if it's okay with you folks, I'd like to communication and recommendations from the mayor. I just want to have, is Chuck still here? Chuck, can you come up? Chuck's going to speak for me for a little bit here. We have a announcement that he wants to make that I'd let him make it instead of me.
Well, thank you, Mayor. If you recall, last June, we submitted applications to the Wisconsin Surface Transportation Program for the design and construction of Wisconsin Street. And it's the 0.6 miles of Wisconsin Street from 11th to Vine. And I learned late Friday that both the application for the design and the construction were both funded. They were 2 of the 13 that were for your population class.
Chuck, how much money is that roughly?
It should be in the range of $450,000 to $500,000.
Way to roll the dice.
Yeah.
Love it.
And just what you can expect is in a couple weeks, they'll send a formal letter to Devon, letting you know along with the municipal agreement. And, then it gets into the environmental and the design. The anticipated construction of this project would be 2012. It can't move any quicker than that, so you've got time.
Great.
So that's good news.
Yes, for sure.
All right, thank you.
Thanks.
It
That's-
sounds like that news.
That's all I had on that. Right now, I'd like to request we go into closed session pursuant to section.
Communications.
Huh?
Want to do communications first?
Oh, any other communication from anybody else, any older person?
Would like to make everyone aware that you may have received from Veolia a notice that it's going to cost you money to get rid of your Christmas tree by putting it out on the curb. They want to charge a $10 fee, or you can alternately take it to a free disposal place in St. Paul, Minnesota. Ignore that. There have been discussions with Veolia, and you can forget that fee. You have until the end of January to put your Christmas tree out on the curb, and it will be picked up by Veolia on their regular dates, free of charge.
Mine's been picked up already, so.
Well, then forget it.
I put mine
City
back in the
attorney.
box.
Nothing.
Devon, city administrator. Okay. Now I'd recommend we go into closed session pursuant to 19-851C Wisconsin Stats to consider approval of the 2011 contracts with the police patrol officers and police sergeant unions. Roll call. Motion, is there?
Need a motion.
Second. Okay. Roll call vote?
Yes. O'Malley?
Yes.
Wyland?
Yes.
Vanslo? Bernard?
Yes.
Stockton?
Yes.
All right.